Hey guys, what's up? All right, all right, all right. It's Double Deuce back. Well, it was a busy day in the hobby world for Double Deuce here. You guys see my prior video there. I got the Howland L6 changed over to the new block and took a little tedious work on that because I Loctited everything and I had to heat it up and take each rod bolt out and all that. But today's video is going to be on, I think I found something to put the V12 in. Now, if you checked out Brother Steve down there in Australia at RC Tanks and Trucks 24/7, he has the same dilemma I have, trying to find something to put this engine in. Now, I had this custom built chassis, and you'll probably see it a couple of different times in my video list there. Once it had the Sen 5-horse nitro engine on it with the 3-speed with reverse. Then I converted it to electric with a 2200 kV or 2000 kV, I think it is, red cap motor and 14.8 volts. So over time, I was looking for something to put this engine in, just like Steve was doing. He's trying to compare apples to oranges, and the engine is so tall and long that it's going to be a tight fit in the fifth scale. And I had my Skyline, my extra fifth scale Skyline, and yeah, it'll fit lengthwise nice and tight, but it's too tall. So the oil pan on the bottom, they have a small little an oil return from the breather over there that would have to be put on the side, and I'd have to cut the mounts down on it to get it to fit. So, but as I was trying to scratch my head and say, hey, what do I put this thing in, man? It's like I'm all excited, and I can't put this thing down. I don't know why. Every time I start working on this engine, I got to start it and sit there and listen to it for a half hour. It's funny because this thing's really got a hold of me. It's just so cool. But long story short, getting back to this frame, I built this frame kind of like a big Toyota Bruiser that was my goal when I first started doing this. But then I realized making a body for it and everything else would be just too hard. So I added all the goodies on it. It's got hydraulic 4-roll disc brakes from the Roven. You can see the master cylinder up here. And it's got the big 5th scale Yoda axles, which they don't even sell no more. My first version of this, I had one of them Zona 5th scale engine on it, and it just shredded the ring and pinions in these things because they were really soft. So I kind of machined them out a little bit and put in the Sen Colossus. Now it's the Sen Reaper, the same setup there. And I put the differentials in there, and they were exactly the same. I couldn't believe it. The only thing different was the bearing sizes. So anyways, I got that far with it, and you'll see this in my list of videos. The first one, it has the Sen 5-horse on it. It's in a gravel parking lot. The second one, I was at work, and I had the electric version of it, and I was just playing with it, and it was pretty wild in the electric version. So, I never thought that I would make a crawler out of this V12. That was the last thing I thought I'd ever do, and but it fits in here pretty good. It doesn't keep falling over because it's just kind of set here, and the steering has clearance. I have plenty of room to make headers for it. And the headers I started working on the other night, hey, I'll save them for another project sometime, and I will custom make headers to fit this frame. I got plenty of room in the front for a big radiator, And what I'm thinking about using for the radiator is a rear heater core for a Honda Odyssey van. They're aluminum, and they're pretty good size, nice and thick. And you just have to come up with some adapters for the side to bring your in and out. But in the front here on the leaf springs on this thing, I had made special leaf springs by hand. I used a septic snake, one of those septic snakes that roll up. It's just a piece of band spring steel, and I think I got a 50 or a 75 footer, and I cut pieces off of it and made leaf springs for this thing. So I'm going to have to add a couple of leaf springs, or I'm going to have to, on the shocks over here, I might have to put the Sen springs back on it to give it a little lift, because this V12 is a little heavy. You know, I do have about a 1/8 of an inch of bounce there, but I'm going to need more than that for a four-wheel drive. So I don't know what the specs are as far as torque or horsepower with this engine. I know it revs really good. So if I gear it down, and I'm thinking it's got to be at least 5 horse, at least, you know, just from taking a wild guess. Even if it's not, if I gear it down enough, you know, it's a whole new avenue to start searching stuff. Like, I need more things to think about. But the G52 V8, I ordered headers for that, so I'm going to wait for the headers to get here before I start building the frame for the 55 Chevy. And I got to come up with some wheel and tire packages for that thing, because when you get to that size, they're kind of hard to find. You know, they're very, very limited. You know, you got, you know, your 12 scale, your 10 scale, your 8 scale. There's tons and tons of rims and tires out there. As you get into the bigger scales, they get very limited to have. But, so I got, like I say, plenty of room on this frame that I could add a radiator in the front, even one in the back if I need to keep this thing running real cool. I got plenty of room for a fuel tank, and being this thing is really not a gas hog, this thing is really good on fuel. It'll be, I can have a smaller tank back there. I don't have to have a big, you know, 5th scale tank. So, but, you know, I'll probably change out the 1/4 scale servo on the master cylinder, because you don't need something that big. Because this thing locks up so hard, it flips right over upside down. And so I don't want to do that. I don't want to damage the engine. And so what I'm thinking for now, instead of making a body, I was going to build like a Jeep body for this thing, like a flat fender Jeep. It'd be really easy to do. But I think I might just make like an Escalade cage for it, and just kind of turn it into like one of those mudders down in Florida down there. You know, there's just a cage, a frame, a seat, a lot of horsepower and 4-wheel drive, and you know, they have some fun in the mud, you know. But I don't know if I'll do that with this one, because it's, you know, the work I'm going to put into this. I've never even painted the frame on this. It's still raw steel, and you know, it's just all dusty and dirty and everything from sitting around. But you know, I've had some fun with this thing, and it does handle pretty well. So I don't know how it's going to handle with all this weight in the front, you know, but we'll find out, I guess. That's how we learn. So anyways, guys, you know, any questions, comments, feel free to hit me up. I'm still way behind on the other ones there. I've been trying to get all the stuff together. Like you say, my last video, you know, was the How and L6. I got it together, and I got to mess with the timing a little bit on that. I got my Toyon V8 put back together. I don't have the supercharger on it yet, but I'd like to get that back into the Camaro, because when a couple of rods exited out of the block there, I had it in the Camaro, and it was just starting to wind up, and then it let go. But that engine had some hours on it of abuse, so now it's got all fresh rods and pistons in it. So that the Camaro build will be coming back too. But let me know what you think. You know, any ideas, anything like that. I'll tell you, if this company would build a gearbox on these engines, they'd sell 1 million of them, because it comes in one unit, done. Because I actually thought about not putting this in here and putting the Conley small block in here, and because I can get a gearbox for that, you know, when they're available, and it bolts right to it, you know, and it'd just be so easy to do. And I don't think that the Conley gearbox will made up to this here, and I'd have to make like adapter plates and everything. And if they say they have one designed, I'd like to see if they, you know, it could take a while for it to get here, because right now I ordered a clutch for this thing. I ordered a SCZ clutch, the 3-shoe clutch like I put on my Engine More V8, and I changed the springs in it. and they work very well with a low RPM four-stroke engine. From what I'm testing on my Inzamore V8, it idles all day long, and as you start bringing the RPM up, it starts grabbing. Now you can adjust those shoes and the springs too, so you can have it come in higher or lower. And so we're going to need, like the fifth scale stuff, you know, they're like what, 6, 7, 8,000 RPM engagements, you know, where that's at the top end of these engines. So I don't know if they'll work with these, to be honest with you. But if we bring the RPM down to, like, say 3 or 4,000 RPMs, just by changing the springs out on those SCZ 3-shoe clutches, they're a lightweight aluminum housing clutch with steel shoes. But that'll be coming, and I'll get to that, and hopefully, you know, in the meantime, we can talk them into coming up with a gearbox for this thing. So the ones they are selling right now, we can have a unit. And even if it don't have gears in it, even if it's just a clutch with a shaft to it, we can take it from there. But all right, guys, I'm going to get back to dreaming over here. And I got plenty of room for headers and all this stuff, and, you know, it just kind of like fell together. And like I say, check out Steve's video down there at RC Tanks and Trucks 24/7, because he's just like me. He's just fascinated with this engine. Like I say, you start working on it, and next thing you know, you're starting it up and running it for a half hour, you know, and you don't get nothing done. But just to hear the sound of it is just beautiful. And it's just amazing. It's just a breath of fresh air for something that is new, you know. And it starts, and it runs, and all that cool stuff. So, anyways, guys, love to all. Like, share, subscribe if you want. Tell your friends. And I'll catch you later, man. Adios.